You're doing good. Thank you for being here. Let me turn off my music so you can hear me completely. All right. Good morning. Good morning. I haven't had a class. I haven't had a Zoom with you guys in a little while. You've had last week. You had a Friday recording, and that means it was 2 weeks ago. We've been in Zoom itself. There is not a Nearpod for you to join. You're just going to be watching, and I will have to turn on my document camera at some point. So today's lesson might not last very long, but I'm going to keep the Zoom open, and you will have a chance to actually show me your work. And if you show me your work today, guess what? You don't have any homework. So if you do it here with me today, I want to move my camera just a little bit. So there we go. You don't have to worry about it over the week. I will put it in the Google Classroom and in Infinite Campus that you did your work. So we're going to review the a little bit about what we talked about last week. And I am going to double check, guys. Yeah, both of these students should be in. All right. So let me, looking good, Conchika. I'm going to once again remind those friends that are in the waiting room that they are in the wrong spot. All right. So let's talk about last week, or a little bit about last week. You guys started to learn about the endangered species collations in youth art contest. And I showed you some of the pictures on the video, and we talked a little bit about what kind of species you can do, because it's not just animals. You can do plants, you can do fish, you can do birds, things like that. But we're going to take a step back. We're not going to worry about our endangered species at the moment. We're going to talk about texture and value. These are two of the art elements that we're going to use a lot when we are creating our pictures. And we're going to practice them. And we're going to practice value this week and texture next week. It's really easy to confuse the two things. The value is going to make your pictures look light or dark, like it's casting a shadow. Texture is going to make it look like it's, something you can actually reach out and feel. So that brings us to, what is texture? There are two types of texture. There's actual texture, which is how something actually feels. And then there's implied texture, how something looks like it would feel. I love using the example of the cactus, because if you were actually to find that cactus and touch it, it would really feel spiky. But the picture on the right, the actual drawing, just looks like it would feel spiky. But if you touch the drawing, it wouldn't really feel spiky. And then value is the dark to light of a color. When I am directly in the light, you can see that I'm very bright up at the top. But if I move that light away, you can see that the light is mostly over here, but then this side of my face has some dark spots. This is value. There's a dark value, there's a light value. It's kind of weird to have to use my face as an example, but it works. Yes, Amir.
So is it like the dark side of the moon and the normal side of the moon?
It could be, because that would be that the light side of the moon is always the lightest value, and the dark side of the moon is always the darkest value. So when you use texture and value together, you can create some very realistic looking drawings. These are just 5 textures to show you this. Each one of them, you can tell where the top of the sphere is and the bottom. The top is where it's the lightest, because that's where the light is shining down on it. And then underneath it, where it's darker, that's where the shadow is. So I would say this is a very, maybe like a regular fabric kind of texture. This one is a smooth texture. It looks like a mirror. Then we've got this
The
hearing
marble.
texture. And if you look, if you can follow my mouse on the screen, it gets darker on the bottom, the opposite side of where it's the lightest. And then this one's fuzzy. To me, it looks like someone rolled it in a bunch of carpet lint. And it's, again, it's light at the top, which is the lightest value, and it gets darker at the bottom. And this bumpy one looks a lot like a rock. And you can see that there's little bumps in it. And every time the bump casts a shadow, it makes it look, well, rough. All right. Next, we're going to talk about types of shading. These are ways to make your art look like it's got some shadows on it. There are different ways. There's things called, and each one of these is a shading technique. We've got stippling, we've got scumbling, shading, smudging, and cross-hatching. They're all fun to say, I know. So I will show you, and we're going to practice these examples in a few minutes. Please let me get through all of them before you start drawing anything. The next thing we're going to look at, oh, this probably should have been first, sorry. This is what happens when you have light shining on something. This is a great example of it. So let's pretend that you've got like a box and a ball sitting next to each other. If you take a flashlight and you shine it on it, the part of the back of the box and the ball that's facing the flashlight will stay the brightest color, which in this case is just white. But the other side of the box and the ball, where the shadow is coming from, it will get dark. And you can see that this artist did it step by step and made it get darker as he went. First, he just started off with some really easy kind of shading, but then every time you go down a step, he adds more lines to make it darker and look like there's really shadows underneath it. These are more examples of types of shading. And I'm going to pause there just to let you look at it. Some of these are very even, and they might require you to use something like a ruler. This one, I'm not even sure how they did that one. That one almost feels like it might be computer programmed to me. But then others are very chaotic and looks like, to me, almost just scribbles. And then these are a lot of examples. You've got a continuous line, which goes down, a bunch of broken lines, which is more like you go dash, 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 dash. This one's loops. This is ragged lines. This is scribbled, which is very close to scumbling. Dots, which is stippling. Dashes, rhythmic. And I'm going to let you look at them from here. And got another friend. So what we're going to be doing today is you are going to draw 6 boxes. Don't do them yet. Please let me finish. If you can print your document, I'm sorry, if you can print the boxes and you'd rather do that, there is a Google assignment on your Google Class that has a doc attached to it, and you can print it out from there. I will show you this in just a moment. This is what the document will look like. It just has these boxes. It already has everything labeled in it for you. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you. So here's your Google Doc. It's not a document. Here's your art class. This just posted. It says Franz posted a new assignment, week 9, shading. So if you go to it, and I'm just going to pull up Abdullah's because this is first. In there is a Google document, and it already has these boxes in there. So if you can print from here, go for it. If you want to just draw your boxes, you can. When you are done, you're going to have to put a picture in here if you don't show it to me right now. If we get done, please don't start yet. Please don't start yet. If you get done and you show it to me in class, you don't have to do this at all. But I need to show you what I'm talking about. So I'm going to stop sharing this, and I'm going to share my document camera with you. Give me a thumbs up if you can see my sketchbook and a Sharpie. So give me a thumbs up if you can see that. All right, Kashika can, Hannah can. I'm gonna guess if those two can, everybody else can too. So it might actually help if you hold your paper sideways. We're going to draw 6 boxes. And this is one of the reasons why you might want to print it out, because Miss Franz can't even draw a straight box. And I've been doing this for a long time. So you're going to draw 6 boxes. Underneath them, you're going to write these words. Hatching, cross hatching, then stipling, then SCUMBLING, scumbling. Then underneath there, you're just going to write for these two. You can just write your choice. Because those last two, you get to pick what you want to practice. So, what time is it? Yeah, we've got 10 minutes left. Let me show you these examples before you get started. You're not going to fill up the whole box. We're only going to fill up a little bit of it. So cross-hatching, and let me get out. Oh, by the way, I'm using markers so that you can see it easier. You do not have to be using markers. It might actually be easier for you to use just a regular pencil. I just want to make sure that you can see it. So cross-hatching is, hatching is when you just use a single line and you just draw the lines close to each other. And you can see that it makes it look like this box has a light shining on it from this direction. So I'm going to keep pretending that my light is shining from each one of these. Cross-hatching goes like this. It starts off like a regular hatching, but then and that's why it's called cross-hatching, because you add like an extra area to it. So now in this one, you can see the light is up here where there's nothing. It's a little bit shadowed over here, but it's a lot darker down there. Stippling is easy, and you're going to have fun with that one. Stippling is when you do dots, but you make the dots closer together the darker you want it to get. So down here at the bottom, I'm actually going to put a lot of these dots really close together. Because it's going to make it look darker, and the less dots I put out here, the lighter or the less shadow it is. So a really dark area will have a lot of dots. They'll be overlapping each other. They'll be really close together. So that's a stippling. Scumbling is when you do like a little bit of it's kind of like a scribble, but you keep it really close to itself. And in places where you want it to be darker, you get the scribble to overlap with itself. So you can see that I'm doing a lot of the scribbling on top of itself down here, and that makes it darker. So we've got a darker scribbling because I overlapped it a lot, And then we've got this lighter version, and there's nothing up there because the light is, again, shining from down there. And for the last one, you are going to get to pick 2 that you want to practice. You can go back through and look at any of these